Let me quickly introduce myself. I have a long name, but most people know me as John. I've been in business consulting, IT consulting over the last 24 years. And I got started in AI about 2015. So it's probably about 10 years that we have been in AI. But before we delve much deeper into it, this is how I would structure the next 30, 45 minutes. Let's first understand from a biblical point of view how intelligence and wisdom is viewed from a godly perspective, from the biblical perspective, and what entails artificial intelligence. I would not try to make it very technical, but I would at least want you to understand some fundamentals of what AI is so that you get a perspective of what you can do and how you can use it, and how you can actually leverage it to probably get a little ahead in your career. Now, I will start off with a question, and I hope this will be interactive. And if you see here, right, you have original intelligence and artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence, probably on the right side, you're seeing that neural network, which is all beautiful. In every slide deck or everywhere you see, you would probably see one of these neural networks. But if you go to the original intelligence, why do you think I put a tree? Very good answer. She says because that is under the tree where the serpent tempted Adam and Eve. Correct? Good. Any other answers? Okay. So let's just ask this question, fundamental question. Next slide. Fundamental question saying, what was God's original design for man? Any answers? How did God create man? In his image, okay. And? That's all. He gave something to man. He gave power over everything, something. So let's turn to Genesis chapter 1 and verse 26. If one of you want to read it, you can read it, else I can read it. Then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. Verse 28. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. So here, if you see, when God created man, he gave him dominion over everything that God has created. He gave him dominion over all the creation. He said, rule over the entire creation, be fruitful, and what else? He said, there is this huge garden that I have built, and you can eat of all the trees in this garden. And except, he said, there is just one tree in the middle of the garden, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, of which you cannot eat. If you look at this, right, now I have a question. All of us know this story. Serpent came, tempted Eve. She ate of the fruit of knowledge and knowledge of good and evil. Then Adam ate, and their eyes were opened. But what was man's sin? Next slide. What was man's sin here? We should be very clear about what was the sin they committed. Disobedience is like a blanket statement. Any disobedience is sin. I steal. It is disobedience against God's command because I do not steal. So disobedience is like a different word you can use, like one of those posh words you can use. Instead of saying sinner, we are disobedient. It sounds a little more safer. Desire for knowledge which was not meant for them. Very good. Any other answers? She's the only one giving answers, huh? Little louder. Dependence on self. Okay, very good. Not trusting God. Good. So, what were the exact words Satan used? You'll be like God. Oh. So, the first sin that man committed was he wanted to be God. Many times we think, hey, this is some small sin, it's just a disobedience. They were curious about knowledge. And knowledge is good. You can probably cut off the floor. I don't need the floor, it's resounding. So, you would be thinking, it's a small sin, right? They were curious. And knowledge is good, right? If today, before joining your engineering or kid is going to school, what they would say, Luke 2:52, and Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature and with favor with God and man. Look, God wants you to have wisdom. He wants you to grow in knowledge. What is wrong? What big sin did Adam and Eve commit? There is this desire for knowledge. And they thought, if this desire for knowledge, and if I can eat of this fruit, I will know. But you know what? The sin was not a very simple disobedience. They probably even did not realize how big a sin they were committing. You know what was Satan's original sin? He wanted to be God. So for the rest of the session, right, forget disobedience as a word. Think that you don't know this word, so that our answers become very specific. Satan looks at God seated on the highest throne and he desires, saying, I want to be on that throne and I want to be God. So when he comes to man, Adam and Eve, what he says? You know what? God created all of this. And what did God say? Hey man, you have dominion over all of it. Rule over the birds of the air, rule over the animals of the land, and over everything I have given you dominion. And of this garden, right, you can eat everything. But of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, do not eat. You know what Satan was saying? You understand some Hindi and Telugu, right? God is little stingy. He's not given everything, Did he really give you everything? Nice doubt to put in your head, right? God has given everything to man and he expected him to show his submission and his obedience on just one tree. But Satan comes and says, did God really tell you that? Do you really think you will die? And the interaction and the conversation is very interesting. When Eve looks at the fruit, she looks at it and says, it is nice, beautiful, pleasing to the eye and nourishing to the body, and desirable of gaining wisdom. If you look at the words, Eve says, this was desirable to gain wisdom, but what God said is, this is not wisdom. This is knowledge of good and evil. You understand that little difference of a word, that little difference of context changed the entire thing. When Satan comes and asks, did God really tell you not to eat? He said, yes, don't eat. In fact, he said, don't touch also. Did God say that? Absolutely no. If you look at the conversation that Eve has, you will think, why are you giving these extra answers? So when you engage in a conversation, in a temptation, or with Satan, right, give short answers, precise answers. Half the problems will go. If you really imagine this conversation happening now, imagine Satan saying, did God really say, if you eat, you will die? Oh, yes, yes. Not only eat, he said, even if you touch. God never said, don't touch, no? And he said, oh, this is the fruit of good and evil. You know what? You will become like God. And God doesn't want you to become like him. You know, God is holding something very precious from you. Was God holding anything precious from them? You know, Adam and Eve were created in the image of God. And they were created so perfectly and so pure that they were having fellowship with God. Every day evening, in the cool of the evening, God is to come, and Adam and Eve were walking with him, speaking with him, having fellowship with him, like they were equals. You know, after sin, man cannot face God. But before sin, they could see God. You know, when the presence of God came on Mount Sinai in the desert, and the entire nation of Israel looks at that mountain, they were terrified. And they say, Moses, you go up the mountain, we will not come near this mountain. Every time God even showed a speck of his presence directly to humans, you know what was the response? They thought, Kam Katam. Today is my last day, I am dead. Isaiah says, woe unto me, I have seen the Holy One. Woe unto me, a man of unholy lips. Every time there is the presence of God, man shivers and he is almost dead. When Moses expresses this desire saying, God, I want to see you. You know what he says? Moses, no man can see me and live. What I will do is I will hide you in the cleft of the rock, and when I pass, you can see the back of me. Now this man, Adam, has been created so well in the image of God, and he also has had access to the fruit of life. God did not restrict that. He could have eaten and had eternal life with God, and all this would have not happened. Now you might be wondering, Arey, we called this Anna for AI, and this fellow is telling about Adam and Eve and knowledge and apples and oranges. Will come there. What I want you to understand is, man is not designed to handle infinite knowledge. The reason God kept away the knowledge of good and evil from man is man's mind is not designed to handle infinite knowledge. If man was created, you know what are the three attributes of God, core attributes of God? God is omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. You understand these three words, right? Omniscient is all-knowing. Omnipresent, present everywhere. Omnipotent, all-powerful. So you have an all-powerful God, present everywhere, and a God who knows everything. And this God, when he created man, he only created him so that he can understand this much in life. And he kept away some things because man is not equipped to handle so much information. And now, you know, starting with that day till this day, there is this insatiable desire and thirst for what? Tell the word. Starts with K. Knowledge. FOMO, right? All of you know what FOMO is? Fear of missing out. I don't know what happens. You know, our WhatsApp is continuously ringing. Every one of us is completely curious every second of our life, saying, what is happening here? What is happening there? What is happening in this fellow's career? What is happening in that project? What is happening in this fellow's life? What is happening in that church? What is happening in this youth fellowship? What is happening in this group? I'm not part of some groups. There are WhatsApp groups. There are secret WhatsApp groups. There's Telegram. There is Twitter. You have X, Y, Z, Insta. And you're still not satisfied. And then you come and say, Arey, today, there is this session, if I don't attend this session, something I will miss, so I will come here. And now you must be thinking, the moment the session is over, I'll tell some other fellow, you don't know what you missed. And right till your end of life, this desire to know. And you know what? We burden ourselves with so much information that you are not equipped to handle as a human. Do you realize that human is not designed to actually have all the knowledge of the world? Yet, in our sinful state, unfortunately, now we live in a world which is ruled by knowledge. You don't have knowledge, you can't pass your exam. You don't have good grasp of your subject, you can't finish your project. You don't have knowledge, you will not get your next promotion. And in all of this comes this beautiful model called AI. Now this AI has some wonderful characteristics. It is present everywhere, correct? It claims to know everything. And it claims to say that it is all powerful, much more powerful than all the human knowledge put together. That is the claim of every AI model, right? You know what? Knowledge, now with technology and evolved as AI, essentially takes the place of God. And it appeals to a human heart and a mind because that is what we always desire. Now don't go blaming Adam and Eve and all. Even now, when we are there, you know, our deepest desire always is, you want to be God. You want to be in control of your life. You want to be in control of your priorities. Most of you are young, correct? Mostly single, I think. That's why they put this division of carpet in between and say, sit here and here. Okay? You know, when you're looking for your life partner, Satan will come and tell this. Do you know God is stingy? He will not give you everything that you want. If you want a Christian boy as a husband, you want a Christian girl as a husband, you will not get everything in life. You will miss out. He'll tell the same thing which he told in the Garden of Eden. But you know what? If you actually trust God, God will give you everything that you desire, and He'll also protect you from the 1-2 things that you have to keep away from. And Satan will come and say, you know what? This guy, this God is little stingy fellow, okay? He will say he'll give you joy unlimited, he'll give you peace unlimited, he'll give you everything, but when it comes to your life partner, you know, he'll not give you everything. So every girl is afraid that she'll get married to a godly guy because she thinks she'll lose out on something, but outside he'll say, no, I just want a believer. Every boy is deeply afraid, if I marry a very spiritual girl, morning to night she'll be praying what will happen about romance, good life, everything, and say, no, Anna, it is okay if she's prayerful. You know, this is the problem. Now coming back to AI, these models also have some very good shortcomings, you know. They can very confidently give you the wrong answer. With 100% confidence. They're never right. But unfortunately, we take them as right. Just go to the next slide. So, there is this question. Does a human have the capability for infinite knowledge? Now, when you delve and start your journey into this AI world, or some of you are starting, first remember, you don't need infinite knowledge. In fact, you need very, very little knowledge to even excel in your career. Many times we think that our resume should be 30 pages longer. I have done 30 projects, I know 15 coding languages, I know every database that is there to be, and This front end, back end, middleware, thisware, thatware, everything. The most successful people in careers are the people who have mastered one part of it and are very, very good at it. Now, this comes as a surprise because we are taught throughout our life, throughout our career, saying that everything you should know. You should be end-to-end DevOps, full stack, if possible SAP, ERP, and some testing also, and design also, and some lean mean certification, at least one on-site. And here comes this nice, beautiful model called AI, saying, you know what? I have the answers to everything that you want in life. You have a question on SAP? Oh, fantastic. You just have to ask me a question. So let's go a little back in time. And when do you think this entire AI journey started? 2015, 2020, 2022. When do you think the entire AI models actually started developing? Any answer? 90s, 1980s, okay? Any other answer? No negative marks also, free. Oh, he's already gone to the next slide. Huh? So this is like those Sunday school kids, right? If you don't know the answer, Jesus is the answer. Huh? Anything you say, yeah, Jesus is the answer for everything. Huh? Why did you fail? They say, Jesus is the answer. In 1950s, Turing, I don't know if you ever guys heard of this guy, but do some study. He was the guy who actually built the first mechanical working computer, if you have to call it that way. And even today, if you want to test an AI model for its intelligence level, it is called a Turing test. If it passes what you call as a Turing test, it means it can nearly get away as being as intelligent as a human. But most of the models that you see, skipping through all of it, around 1970s and 80s is when these developed models were there. So the models that you're using today, all the good LLMs, take any LLM, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or whichever you like, these models were created in the 70s. Now you might be thinking, oh, that old technology. Most of you were not born in 70s, right? I think I am the only one and maybe 2-3 guys who were born in the 70s. You were all born in after. Anybody before 2000? Okay, a few. So you are using technology which is how old? 50 years old. Now suddenly AI does not sound too interesting, right? Are a 50-year-old technology we are using. Now when these models were initially created, they were so good. Mathematically, they could say this is how a machine can learn, but they did not have the compute power. My boss, who was an AI guy, he did his PhD in 1974 or 72 from IIC Bangalore in artificial intelligence, much before I was born. And the models he created, we implemented in 2015. So imagine 30, 40 years later, you're implementing what was postulated. Now this AI, at that point in time, the fundamental question they asked was the same question. How does intelligence work? They wanted to understand how a human brain works. And they, you know all of you, right? 8th class, if you didn't copy and pass, you have that diagram, brain cell with a stem and a dendrite. Correct? And each of them connect to each other and this electric signal which passes, and that is how this is. And when you learn, if that signal passes repeatedly over a thing, there's a pattern which forms, and that is committed to your long-term memory. That is how memory is created, and that is how you learn. So that is exactly what they did. They created something called a perceptron. And from one perceptron to another perceptron, how they could pass information and back and forth. And this caught the attention of the world. Because computers were just picking up speed, Moore's law was coming into place. The 80s suddenly saw a huge surge in compute power. How many of you know Moore's law? All of you are IT guys, you should know. I mean, what does it say? Every 18 months, compute power doubles, correct? Very simple explanation without making it technical. Every 18 months, compute power doubles. That's it. So 80s, when it started picking, everybody thought, oh, this is the time. Now, AI will replace the entire generation. I am still there. People still pay me. And they still hire me. Which means my job is not going anytime soon. You guys have a long time to lose your jobs. We'll come to that later. But one thing which fundamentally changed the entire course of AI is one paper from 2017. That paper is called Attention is All That You Need. It's a beautiful paper. All of you, if you are even remotely interested in understanding how AI works, you should read this paper. Attention is All That You Need was published by 3 scientists working at Google. I think 8 or 10 pages. That's it. And this is what they call as a transformer model, which fundamentally changed how AI works. Where then you started seeing words like CNN, RNN, convoluted, RNN, I mean, I use it so many times, I forgot the convolutional neural networks and reinforcement learning. Both of them came at the same time. And this is where the first time they realized that you can build a model which can give feedback to itself and check if it is right, and then start learning in a loop. And then they realized if I can put many layers of learning, which is nothing but what you today very simply call as deep learning. So before you get a simple answer on a chat GPT, you say, what is today's weather? It actually doesn't understand what. It doesn't even understand those 5 words. It doesn't understand what. It does not know what weather means. It does not know what is or anything is. You know how a AI works? And it works very, very different from how a human brain works. Now take these 5 words and just throw them in the air like this. So now they're all spread somewhere here. So there is weather and there is what. It will measure the distance between both these words, which is nothing but a vector space, in case you know, in case you're interested. These are called eigenvectors. So each word that you utter is converted into eigenvector, and it has a very specific value. So every word in the dictionary is converted to a vector, and that vector has some value. So now whenever I search for something, I say, is this fruit an apple? And it looks at the color, image, blah, 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 all of that. And it only sees what is the proximity of these words and its relationship, and what is the probability that it is the closest to an answer. And it will say, I think this is an apple with a probability of 90% or 100% or whatever percentage it assigns. And this is how AI fundamentally works. So for a long time, people understood this. I mean, these were the models which you typically call as bag of word. But there was one model which was called AlexNet. And this was what was training AI on images. And after that and transformers, we do not know how AI works now. The last possible human understanding of how AI actually works ended with the last model called AlexNet. So if you go home, do some research, search what is AlexNet, and that was the last time we actually understood how AI is working. After that, now if you ask anybody, they actually don't know how AI works. They actually don't know how it is now learning. They actually Why? Because now it has become so complex. At that point in time, they were happy having 10 layers or 15 layers of information. But now you can theoretically have as many layers as you want, and your mind blows, you cannot compute. So you know what? A human can maximum deal with how many variables at a time? So let's say you want to buy a house. What all parameters will you look when you're buying a house? Access, cost, how many bedrooms, east facing, dimensions of the room. Anything more? Maybe 2, 3 more. Transport, close to school, office, all of that. If you ask a typical human, they'll end up with 4, 5, 6, max 7 variables. At any point in time, we can parallelly deal with that many variables. That's it. If I have to ask you to mathematically express it, most of you will be able to express it in at max 2 variables or 3 variables. Quadratic equations, right? Means how many? More than 4. Okay. Sure? Okay. So whenever, let's say we want to buy this house. Now each of this parameter, I will put it as one variable. My variable 1, let's say degree 1, is dimensions. You will say I want a house which is 1300 square feet to 1500 square feet. Second variable, it has to be east facing. He corrected you? Third variable, you'll say I definitely need 3 bathrooms and 3 bedrooms. Fourth variable, it has to be in this locality only. 2 kilometers within circle of the office or school or whatever you want. Now if you have to express this as a equation, how many degrees of equation is this? 4 variables, 4 degrees. Very simple, right? Which means you have to write something like ax to the power of 4 plus by to the power of 3 plus c z to the power of 2 plus some constant. You will express it like this. That's it, no? Now you have to solve for this. If you solve and make a nice model, every house data that you get, you can put into this, and based on that, you can get a score. Correct? Very simple. You solve this polynomial now of degree 4, you will get finally some answers, and you can rank it in you can rank it in the overall score, and you say, hey, anything which meets 80% or more of my criteria, these are the 3 houses I want to build. That's it. Now if you have to actually write this as a polynomial equation and solve it, it's very difficult. We can solve degree 2, means a square plus b square plus 2ab, that much we can solve. Maybe if you have a little more, you went to REC or NIT, then cubic also you can solve. The moment it becomes 4 degrees, how do you solve it? You learned this concept in 8th class. You just didn't realize it. You build a matrix. You know that dabba thing we used to have? Now you can build a matrix, 5 rows, 5 columns. And I can multiply it with a vertical matrix of 5 parameters. And when I multiply it, I will just get what? What kind of matrix? You get a 5 by 1 matrix, 1 by 5 matrix. So if I multiply a 5 by 5 matrix with a 5 by 1 matrix, what will I get? Will I get a 5 by 5 matrix or a 1 by 5 matrix? Hurry, 8th class you would have learned this. All of you learned, right? 8th class, A into B, A inverse, A dot A inverse is identity, identity matrix is 1, 0, 0, all of this. You have to restart. Yeah, you should tell this tomorrow to your manager. Saying that yesterday, after listening to the small session on AI, I got this huge revelation that I have to go back to school. So I am resigning, I will go back to school and I will study my matrices properly and I will come back. So this is how you express. Now, when you are asking a machine model a complex question and you're typing in 30 words or 40 words, it is nothing but creating a polynomial equation of 30 variables. So now imagine a matrix which is 30 by 30 and you have to multiply it. Very difficult, right? So that's why traditional CPUs fail at these compute power, and that is where GPUs come. So whenever you speak of AI and all of this, you hear, "Arey, I need a GPU." You know why? GPUs are extremely good at multiplying matrices. And the bigger, and you have lots of things as zeros, they do this. So now why I'm giving you all of this is, when you multiply all of this, there is one number which comes. And each of this word has an eigenvalue, and a multiplication of all of these numbers will give you one value. It will simply compare this, saying that what is the probability that this set of words means this. If it is greater than 80 or 90%, it will say the most probable answer is this. That's it. It's as simple. This is how AI works. That's it. Now from tomorrow you can master it. Why I'm telling you all of this is, many times we skip fundamentals before you jump onto it. So if you are really serious about doing something in AI, there are a couple of things that you have to do. First, uninstall ChatGPT from your machine. Okay? Go back, learn some fundamentals of maths and statistics. Simple, 8th class. Matrices and some statistics. And understand how regression works, how classification works. Again, very simple concepts. All of us would have done it in engineering first year or wherever. If you didn't go to engineering, at least BSc maths, whatever, you would have done it. Once you have this fundamental understanding, now the entirety of AI, if you have to just put it, it either classifies or regresses. One of it does. So finally, it wants to give you a binary answer, right? It is telling you this is what you want. So till there, things went well, and that is where we are now at 2016. So whatever I told till now is good till 2016. So which means it's still 10-year-old gyan that I'm giving. The first time I spoke on this, I think I was addressing a university in North India somewhere, and it was path-breaking. They were thinking, oh wow, this is amazing. But now it's 9 years old. So in 2016, something fundamentally happened. They asked a fundamental question saying that, why should learning be linear? Humans don't linearly, right? You will not say, if I show you this is a bus, or if I say, hey, this is a computer, this is called a laptop. And tomorrow I show you a completely different model of a laptop. Let's say Dell laptop. You will immediately say, hey, this is a laptop. But for a machine, it becomes very difficult. Because it will say laptop is this dimensions, this color, and there was some logo like an apple here. But this one does not have that. I don't think this is a laptop. You take a small child, show him only a red bus throughout his childhood. And one day he comes out and he sees a yellow bus. He'll say, this is bus. You know, a child is able to immediately transfer his learning from one object and make it generalized and then make it learning. So that is when you call as general purpose learning, which started coming. So there's this very interesting company in the UK, which now is Google DeepMind. After they acquired, Google acquired them. Okay. They came and asked this fundamental question. Can I not train an AI model on something and it can take that learning from there and apply it in a completely different context? And that is what is artificial general intelligence. That is what a human is, right? I don't learn separate skills. I learn how to eat. I don't learn how to eat dal, I don't learn how to eat rice, I don't learn how to eat banana. Then tomorrow somebody gives pomegranate, I'll say, now what should I do? I should train this fellow how to eat a pomegranate. Then you give a fruit which is, you've never seen, some dragon fruit from China. You'll say, now what do? I have to train this fellow again how to eat dragon fruit. This is how the AI models were. You have to train them on very specific data. So somebody came and asked a question saying, why should we train? Why can't it transfer its learning from one object and to a completely different object? Because then it is figuring out what very naturally comes to a human, which is your original design, logic. You know, when we go back to the garden, the question was more of logic than of linearity. Saying, did God really tell you this? It was a logical question, right? And option A, he did not tell you. B, he told you. C, you did not understand correctly. 4, you're missing out on something in life. So then, you know what they did? They said, let's train these models and build a completely general purpose model which will learn something. And let me show you one video. There's a video called Bricks. Just play that. Now what they did, they wrote an algorithm. And they just gave this game to the algorithm and just left it. No instructions. Like you give to a kid, right? You just give a toy to a kid and leave it. They will pull something, they will push something, they will move something. After some time it figured out, okay, you can move this left and right. Then it figured out, oh, if I can put it in the right place, it will bounce. And in about 200 to 300 iterations of learning, it figured out that if it can hit to the corner of the wall and it can go up, it can destroy the entire matrix. If you are seeing on the top, right? This is Space Commander, sir. Bricks. This one. So you see, after some time, it realizes that if it can hit to the corner and if it can go up, it completely destroys it. Then you saw the other video too. You know what they said? Now this is intelligence. Now can I take this same algorithm and put it in a very general purpose and see whether it can learn science or English or any other game? You can go back to the slide deck. So that is when, in 2016, a great model called AlphaGo came in. And that was a game. Next one. You see, right? The third, and not this. Go back, go back. Be on the slide, go back. Be here. 2016 AlphaGo. This is where, how many of you know the game Alpha, the Chinese, the checkerboard game? It's one of the complex games to play. And this, for the first time, a computer beat a human at AlphaGo, at this game. And that algorithm was called AlphaGo. And that later became Stockfish, which became one of the most powerful chess engines. And the same thing, if you now go to DeepMind, right, and look up this guy, I don't know how many of you know this guy, Demis Hassabis. Okay, look him up. Last year or this year, he got a Nobel Prize in chemistry. So to get a Nobel Prize in chemistry, what do you have to be? At least a chemist, right? This guy is not a chemist. In fact, he never studied chemistry. I mean, like all of us, they would have studied in school. His major, he's not a professor in chemistry. He's an artificial intelligence guy. He's the guy who created AlphaGo. He's the guy who created the chess engines. And he's the guy who created what you call as a protein fold model. For a protein fold model, for a human, it used to take an average of 5 years to 10 years to just figure out how a protein folds. People would have done one entire PhD on one protein. And here comes his model, which has done the model for every available protein in the world. The modeling is done using an AI machine. And you know what? The starting of its learning was that. You saw that game? Bricks? Now that is true artificial general intelligence. So why am I showing you this? This is how they have evolved. So today we are sitting at what is the cusp of artificial general intelligence. And this is the model that you have today. So now if we, in the slide next you see, right? After 2016, we made a huge jump. So around 2022, 23 is when all LLMs started taking off. So you have so many LLMs. The most famous is ChatGPT because OpenAI, everybody knows. Some of you use Copilot, some of you use Gemini, Claude, whichever you want. Now, all of these have two fundamental things. They have vectorized every possible word and every possible knowledge and built it into a model. So when they say, I have a model which is 7 billion parameters, quite simply, and I'm making it like really simplistic example, there are 7 billion vectors in it. That's it. If you say I have a model which is 30 billion, a model which is 100 billion or 70 billion was DeepSeek. If you say the model is 70 billion parameters, which means in this 70 billion parameters, the claim is it contains enough number of correlations that it encapsulates in it the entire knowledge of human mankind. So to this large language model, you can ask any question that you want. You can ask science, maths, code. You can ask SAP. You can ask Java. You can ask Python, and everything it does. Now, if it is able to do all of this, why are we not able to use it and actually make money out of it? You have any AI company which has made profit? Not yet. Hopefully in the future. And now you will start hearing a lot of these questions. AI will replace all my jobs. AI will replace this. AI will replace that. AI has some fundamental challenges still. Like a human, it can get bored. True. Most of the large language models have a very short attention span. And they actually measured that if you ask it a long answer, it does exceedingly well in the starting part of it, and towards the end, and in between it slacks. Maybe because it mimicked a human learning pattern, like how we are also there, right? If you have to write an answer, the starting will be brilliant, the end will be brilliant, in between is Allu Arjun's love story in that story. Something like that. Second, it struggles with context. Context is everything. When you go to the original design, what was missing in the Garden of Eden? Context. When Satan was speaking to Adam and Eve, it conveniently removed the context. It says, God really told you this. It almost made them feel like they're missing out something great in life. For AI, you would also hear something like a token size and how much and all. It is very difficult for it to keep context and how much context. So whenever you look at a model, they will come and say, hey, now it can keep a context for 100 tokens, 1,000 tokens, 100,000 tokens. Quite simply, I will explain context like this. Again, very simplistic example, not accurate, so be careful. Let's assume each word is one token. And my model has a context size of 100 tokens. Okay? I will say, hey, I am wearing a green shirt. Some 7, 8 tokens are done. And I keep chatting with it. And I will ask it some 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions. And these 100 tokens are over. So what it does, it just rewrites the over it. Think of it like a hard disk, your CCTV camera, where it is overwriting on the memory. And now, when it exhausts 100 tokens, and now it's at the 120th token, which means the first 20 tokens are gone, I ask, what shirt were you wearing? It will say, I don't know. Because it's gone. Increase its token size, at that time, real time. So you can just go to GitHub, just check for any examples of, or go to YouTube and say, token size context examples. You'll find infinite number of videos and you can see it, how it works. Immediately it says, hey, you are wearing a green shirt. But when it comes to a human, our greatest ability is we can keep multiple contexts, multiple texts infinitely. You can meet a friend after 20 years and you can start a conversation like nothing happened and straight go back, like you will speak like you were just speaking to him or her a few hours ago. Happens. After college, 3 years later, you bump into your friend in a bus and you can carry on from the last conversation that you had. Original design. Now, artificial intelligence, there will come a time where it can keep context. And the biggest of effort and research today they are putting in is to how to increase this context size. The latest is where I think Gemini 2.5 Flash says they have a context size of 100,000 tokens or something like that. Which means it says as much as you want, you can ask. Once the context is correctly established, then your answers are accurate. Second, the limitations of AI, it is confidently incorrect. Many times, if you ask, so if you want to really test, if you are able to utilize an AI model well, it should not be able to answer your questions. You should be able to hit its limit, which means then you are using it as a tool, which can serve you. If it is not hitting its limit and it is not going beyond it, it means you are asking it stupid questions and playing with it like a toy. One of you said you are working on an agentic model or something. If you are working on an agentic model, right, you will very soon realize, okay, this is how much it can do and this is what it cannot do, and now I have to train this model. Go to the next slide. So this was just like a quick video of how it has evolved, right? And you see something wrong in this slide? (2000), then it went to 2019 and then came to 2020. Now what can you do with AI? So till now, whatever you have seen in the presentation, including those videos, including the sound, I have not generated it. Completely AI generated. Now you are thinking, 1 hour this fellow spoke, which is not his content. It is all AI content. We have been taken on a ride. Cancel the lunch. Don't give him lunch also today. Now, why I'm showing you this is a power. If you really understand how to use it, you can do wonders. But you have to understand the context. The problem is, nobody wants to understand the context. Nobody wants to learn fundamentals. Everybody overnight wants to build a super big app which will get them the next $1 million. And for that, I will use AI. But fundamentally, you need to understand how our data is structured. You fundamentally need to understand how databases work. You need to understand what it means to search and query and how it retrieves data. You need to understand how memory is utilized. You need to understand what it means to call functions. You need to understand what it means to have X number of variables. The problem is, none of us want to do that. We directly want the fruit. We just want to use ChatGPT and by tomorrow morning, I want to do. So I'll give you a very good example. By morning, you want to build a great app. We'll go to ChatGPT. And we will learn a very simple surgery, okay? How to replace a human kidney. Ask ChatGPT, what is the process to operate and remove a human kidney? It will give you a beautiful step-by-step process. Many videos. It will give you gyan also how to do it. And tomorrow, go to your friend and say, I want to operate on you. I have this entire knowledge now, perfect knowledge. And live I can ask questions, voice enabled. Hey ChatGPT, there is additional blood coming, what should I do? Would you do it? Now come to software. Somehow you think you can build a world-class infrastructure application by just reading, asking ChatGPT questions saying that, hey, how do I build this app? You know, it beautifully gives you sections of answers. It looks so amazing, so beautiful, but together it doesn't work. So to answer your question, if you are that guy or if you are that girl who understands fundamentals of software architecture, then there is this redundant work or simple work which you can do. You can use an AI to leverage it. But if you are thinking that will do your work and think on your behalf, I have a secret for you. No employer will pay you 1 rupee more than what you deserve. Of course, all of us think we deserve more. No employer will pay you 1 rupee more than what you deserve. And don't think that employer who has hired you is so stupid that he cannot himself go and get an AI model to work instead of you. So there is a long way to go. But for you who are starting out on AI, please understand, if you can master your fundamentals of data science or fundamentals of software building or fundamentals, if you're a tester, fundamentals of testing, and then you use an AI, then this is what you would call as a human-bot engagement. It will always be successful if there is a human and a bot working in tandem. Now you can actually leverage AI, which means there is a human who is making the design and making AI do specific parts of work, versus you are asking AI for the entire design and you are doing specific parts of the work, which is copy, paste, and compile. It should be the other way around. You define the architecture, and you say, for this part, I want this kind of code or logic or whatever, which means you're not wasting time writing what you would have otherwise written in 1 hour. It would probably do it in 5 minutes. But don't expect it to do your job. Now, the fundamental change is, we have somehow believed that this can do all of it. Now you might be thinking, "Hey, this is a very negative picture that you are painting." We were able to use AI in 2017 and save $148 million for a company over 18 months. Human bot engagement. We had 40 project teams working, and we deployed about 1,200 or 1,300 bots working in tandem with them. And we were able to extract the work equivalent to 148 million in saving. So tomorrow or today, if you come and say, "I have implemented AI," or "I have done AI," this is the measure. If today you are able to work in 10 hours, you should be able to do the same thing in 5 hours. So measure 1 is time saved, whatever it is. Measure 2. Instead of a senior, I should be able to put a junior, which means what is the measure here? Cost, which means I am able to save cost. Or third, I can replace. There are parts of the work which can be completely automated, replace a human. If any technology, not just AI, if you implement and you cannot have one of these 3 measures to actually measure, you are generally bullshitting. When you are giving all that English, GAN, PowerPoint presentation and Excel sheet and all of it. You would be able to precisely say, because I used AI, I get 5 hours more. Which means this 5 hours more can be used in many ways. You can do new business, shut the laptop, go home, sleep. That is also good utilization of time. Or cost has to come down, or revenue has to go up, or it has to be replaced. Most often than not, what happens is, AI we use for very simple, little things, and we see success. This is like that Hello World program. All of us will write that Hello World program, right? Print screen, Hello World, and then you say, now I know Java, I know Python, I know this, I know basic, everything. Then you will create one Fibonacci sequence. Then you will do one sort algorithm. And then you will do one very complex application with 1 screen and 3 buttons. And then you will say, I have done. The problem comes is when you have to scale it up. Now, every time you build an application completely independent with AI, and let's assume a decent application is built, and you got on-site and you ran away. Some other guy has to come and maintain it. Nobody knows what it is. You know what AI says? Let's restart. Say, let's build a new application. But you can't build a new application every time. So let's pause here and let's end it here. God's original design gave us infinite knowledge, but also limited our capacity of understanding. Be very careful on what you are chasing. At the same time, when you now look at an AI, it tries to mimic exactly the way a human thinks. While it has been able to master a lot of knowledge, it lacks in context. And that context, as long as it remains with humans, you are invaluable. The day context shifts to AI and it can set context and understand context, congratulations. Now you will be serving AI. Let's hope rapture happens before that. See, I am 46, 47. Another 10, 12 years I'll retire, or probably I'm already retired or something. You guys have to work for 40 years. So, hamara life set hai. You're the guys who are going to face the brunt of AI. So, there are 2 ways you can equip yourself. Either equip yourself to master AI and use it as your subordinate, or think that we are very good, we are this, that, till one bot will come and sit on top of you in your workflow, and then you will be serving it, then your value is 0. Good. Let's pray, and one of you can pray and close.